So look at the format. So what is a variable? What is a variable? It is a temporary memory location where we are storing the data, and can perform manipulation as per your requirement. Variable is the name given to a temporary memory location. Variable is the name given to a temporary memory location where you can store the data and perform the manipulation whenever you need. Let us see. I have some memory location. This is my memory. It's a temporary memory location. When I have some memory, I want to store some data. Let's say name. I want to store the name, age. I want to store some data like name and age. Look at the file. So here in this memory location, I am storing a value called Satish. So Satish is the data, which is nothing but a constant. Satish is nothing but a data, collection of characters, which is nothing but a constant. Here in this location, I am trying to store some information like 10,000. In the memory, I was storing some 10,000. Here I was storing some data like Hyderabad. So how to refer to this memory? In the memory, some data is stored. In the memory, some data is stored. In this memory, the value called Satish is stored. In this memory, the value called 10,000 is stored. In this memory, we have a value called Hyderabad. So to refer to this memory, I cannot identify where is that memory. So for this memory, we are giving a name. For this memory, we are giving a name. What is the name we have given? We give as so we are referring to this temporary memory by using a name called customer name. Whenever it is a customer name, it is a variable which is referring to the memory in which we have stored the data called Satish. Satish is the data. The name of that memory location is customer name. Here we have given name to this memory location, which I am calling as salary. Salary is the variable which is a name to the memory location. In that memory location, we are storing a data called 10,000. For this memory, I give a name called city, where the city is the variable name. In that memory, we are storing a data called Hyderabad. So what is a variable? Variable is a name given to a temporary memory location where we can store the data, perform the changes whenever you need. It is a name given to a temporary memory location where we can store the data and perform the changes whenever you need. Now when I say definition of a variable, whenever I am saying a definition of variable, there are 3 points which are not covered. First, I told it is a name given to a temporary memory location. How much memory is that? Is it 1 GB, 1 TB, 1 MB, 1 byte, 4 byte? How much amount of memory is that? We are not sure. I told it is a name given to a temporary memory location. We are not sure about how much memory is that. Where we can store the data? What type of data you can store? Is it a string? Is it a decimal? Is it a number? Is it a date? What type of data you are storing? We are not sure. So it is not telling you what type of data it can store. I told we can perform the changes whenever you need. What is the maximum value we can store? What is the minimum value we can store? It is not telling you the range of the data what we can store. So the definition of the variable is not answering 3 questions. What are the 3 questions? How much amount of memory is that? What type of data is stored? And what is the range of the data that can be stored? To answer these 3 questions, we have one more concept called data types. Data type will tell you how much amount of memory is given to a variable, what type of data is stored in a variable, what is the range of the data that can be stored in a variable. I hope I am clear. So what was that? Let us take the definition. What was the definition we have? Variables. Take up the definition. Variables. For first 4 days, I'll give the running notes. Later on, I'll give the hard copies. So let us go to the first concept. Variables. For the first 4 days, still I start the visual course. I'll give the running notes. Later on, I'll be giving the hard copies. Okay. So basic. Let's take running notes. Variables. What is a variable? It is a name given to a memory location where we can store the data and perform whenever needed. It is a name given to a memory location where we can store the data and perform the changes whenever we need. And perform the manipulation whenever we need. Now, example, give me some names for the variable. Employee name, salary, experience, student name, age, branch, city. You can give any name with a combination of alphabets and digits. We can give any name with a combination of alphabets and digits. Anything that can be formed with a combination of alphabets and digits. This is how we are thinking. How the variable names will be defined? Variable names should be defined using lower. Variable name should be in the form of what? Lower capital. So what do you mean by lower capital? Second word, first letter should be, from the second word, all the words first letter should be capital. First word, first letter is small. Remaining word, second letter should be, remaining word, first letter should be capital. First word, first letter should be small. Remaining words, first word, first letter should be capital. First word, first letter is small. Remaining words, first letter should be capital. I hope I'm clear. Next. Let us go to the next one. We are going with data types. So what is the data type? What is the data type? Data type is for what? Data type tells you. Data type tells us about how much amount of memory is allocated, how much amount of memory is allocated to a variable, what type of data is stored to a variable, what is the range of the data, data types. Data types will tell you who tells about how much amount of memory is allocated to a variable, what type of data is stored in a variable, what is the range of the data that can be stored in a variable. In Apex programming, we have following data types. In Apex programming, we have the following data types. What are the following data types we have? Primitive data types, we have collections, list, set, map, we have S objects, any Salesforce object, standard or custom. Primitive data types, collections, S object, objects created for Salesforce defined effects classes. Objects created for user defined effects classes. In the effects programming, we have the following data types. First one is primitive data type, collections, S objects, objects created for Salesforce defined effects classes, objects created for user defined effects classes. These are the different types of data types what we have. These are the different types of data types what we have. Primitive data types, collections, S objects, objects created for Salesforce defined effects classes, objects created for user defined effects classes. These are the different types of data types what we have. So let us start with the first one. Primitive data types. What are primitive data types? These are created by Salesforce. These are created by the Salesforce. Support effects. These are created by Salesforce to support effects logics. What are the primitive data types? First, we'll start with the first one. Look at the first one. Everyone here, listen. First, we are going with integer. Now, understand this point. Generally, when you take one bit, what is the meaning of one bit? When you say one bit, either I can store 1 or, when you say one bit, either I can go with 1 or 0. So, what is the maximum value I can store? 1. What is the minimum value I can store? Whenever I say numerical values, it can be minus 22 or plus 22. Minus or plus. So whenever we are going for a numerical values, always the last bit is left for what? Sign of the number. One bit should be always left for what? Sign of the number. Now the remaining bits will be used for data. Suppose I have 4 bits. When I have 4 bits, how many bits will be used for data? 3 bits. 1 bit will be used for sign of the number. What is the maximum data I can store in this bit? 1. 1. So the maximum value is 2 to the power of 2 to the power of 1 2 to the power of 2. Right? This is the maximum value what I can store. Now, when I say maximum value, I can store it as. So what is the maximum value? 7. So if you are using 3 bits for representing the data, maximum value what I can store is 7. If I am using 3 bits for storing the data, maximum value I can store is 7, which is nothing but, if I am using 2 bits, 2 to the power of 3 minus 1. Am I right? 7 is nothing but 2 to the power of 3 minus 1. So if you are using 3 bits to store the data, what is the maximum value I can store? 2 to the power of 3 minus 1. So if you are using 3 bits, what is the maximum data I can store? 2 to the power of 3 minus 2 to the power of 3 minus 1. I can store 2 to the power of 3 minus 1. That means if you are using 4 bits, in the 4 bits, 1 bit is used for sign and 3 bits are used for. That's the reason we have 2 to the power of 3 minus 1. That's the reason we have 2 to the power of 3 minus 1. I hope I'm clear with this. Right. Similarly, if I have 32 bits, if I have 32 bits, what will happen? If I have 32 bits, 1 bit will be used for sign of the number. Remaining 31 bits are used for. So if I have 32 bits, what is the maximum value you can store? 2 to the power of 31. 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. Are you clear about this? If you are using 32 bits to store the data, what is the maximum value you can store? 2 to the power of 31 minus 1, as 1 bit will be lost for sign of the number. Am I clear with this? Now, look at the format. When I am going for a integer, it is a 32-bit number. It is a 32-bit number. It is used to store numerical value without decimal point. Which is used to store a numerical value without decimal point. What is the maximum value we can store? Maximum value we can store is 2 to the power of 31 minus. What is the maximum value we can store? 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. When you say integer, it is a 32-bit number which is used to store numerical value without decimal point. It can store the maximum value up to 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. As we are using 32 bits, 1 bit is used for sign. So maximum value what we can store is 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. I hope I am clear. So example, I can store any numerical value. Any numerical value without decimal point, we can call them as integer. It is a 32-bit number which can be used to store the numerical value without decimal point. Then we have the next. So what is a long? Next we have long. When it is a long, it is a 64-bit number. Long is a 64-bit number. So what is the advantage? It can store larger value than 2 to the power of 31 minus 1. Integer can store only 2 to the power of 31, whereas the long can store up to 2 to the power of 63. Okay, if you want to store larger value than 2 to the power of 31 minus 1, then I will go for what? Long. It is a 64-bit number. It is used to store numerical value without decimal point. Maximum value we can store is 2 to the power of 63 minus 1. If you want to store longer value, we will use. So integer, long. Then we are going with the next one, decimal. When you say decimal, listen to the format. So what is the decimal value? Listen to the points carefully. It is a 32-bit number. It is used to store numerical value with a decimal point. It is used to store numerical value with a decimal point. All the currency fields are represented. All the currency fields are defined as this one. It is a 32-bit number. It is used to store a numerical value with a decimal point. all the currency fields are defined as decimal. Now it is a decimal with numerical value. It's a combination of decimal and a numerical value. So which will store more data? Integer or decimal? Integer or decimal? Now in the integer, all the 31 bits are used to store what? Value. But in the decimal, I am storing some data. I am using some bits for representing the decimal point. I am using some data for representing the integer part. But which will store the more data? Integer is supposed to store more data because 31 bits are used for representing numerical value. Decimal, numerical and decimal. But what happened? Decimal will store more data. The reason is decimal is generally using Mantissa exponent format of IEEE 786. Okay, what about now? By default, if you have studied engineering properly, okay, and passed, there is a concept called Mantissa exponent with IEEE 786 format. Okay, probably in your DLD or your CO subject you will be getting, right? The format they are going to use here. They are using what? Mantissa exponent format. They are going to use internally what? IEEE 786 Mantissa exponent format, because of which the decimal will be storing the larger data than the regular data. Basically, the integer has to store more data because 31 bits are used to store numerical values. But whereas in the decimal, we have 31 bits to represent decimal as well as integer. But still, decimal will store larger data because internally decimal values are represented in the form of IEEE 786 format of Mantissa exponent format, because of which your decimal will store larger value than integer value. I hope I'm clear. So which is taking larger value? Decimal will store. Internally, decimal values are represented using this is a format. So all the currency values should be represented in what? Decimal. So let us say example. This is how we have written decimals. The next format what we have is double. The same, whatever you have done for that decimal, same thing will come. But only the difference is what? It is 64 bit. Integer is K. Decimal is what? Decimal is what? 32 bit. Double is what? 64 bit. The same. Decimal is 32 bit number. Your double is 64 bit number. Both are used to represent what? Numerical decimal values. Numerical values with the decimal point. I hope you are clear. Integer, long, decimal, double. Integer, long, decimal, double. If you are writing a developer 1 certification, platform developer 1 certification, there are a question. By default, currency values will be represented in which format? Decimal format. By default, currency values will be represented in which format? Decimal format. This is the platform developer 1 certification question. Right, boss? People are clear with this? Okay. So let us go to the next one. We have date. The next data type is date. What is the purpose of date? If you want to store a particular date, when I say date, 25th March 2017. When I say date, 25th March 2017 is the date. Instance of a date in the calendar. In the calendar, if I select a date, day, month, year. So, what is the date? It is used to store instance of a date. Instance of a date in the calendar. When you say instance of a date in the calendar, day, month, year. All the three will be taken. Day, month, year. So how do you create? How do you create? Look at the format. Date, D equal to date dot new instance. I'm giving a syntax here. Date dot new instance of year, month. This is how we are going to represent it. Date dot new instance of year, month, day. We'll take an example. Date dot new instance of June 17, June date of joining equal to date dot new instance of 2015 second. If you want to represent today, system dot today. If you want to refer to today, we give it as system dot today. So date, it is used to refer to an instance of a date. When you say instance of a date, day, month, year, combination is a date. If you want to refer today, system dot today. If you want to refer to today, system dot today. I hope I am clear. Am I clear with this? Right. Let us take the next one. We are going with date time. What is the meaning of date time? It is used to store date along with the time. When you say date time, it is used to store date along with the time. It is used to store date along with the time. So what is the syntax? When it is syntax, it's going to be date time it equal to date time dot new instance of year, month, day, hours. It's going to be represented in the form of year, month, day, hours, minutes, seconds. Date time dot new instance. Year, month, day, hours, minutes, seconds. Example. Date time dot new instance of year, month, day, hours, minutes, second. If you want to store a particular date, system dot now. Right, boss? If you want to store a date along with the time, we take date time. Next we have time. You want to store only time. If you want to store only time, we have a data type called time. If you want to store only time, we have DataType call time. It is used to store, what is the syntax? Time dot new instance of hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. Time dot new instance of hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. Time dot new instance of hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. Time dot new instance of hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. That was time. This is how we have created. So we have date, time, time. Next we have string. What is a string? It is a collection of characters surrounded by single quotes. It is a collection of characters surrounded by single quotes. So I have example. Next we have boolean. It is used to store true or false value. Boolean. It is used to store the true or false value. Then we have raw. Next we have a data type called raw. If you want to store any images, files, documents, PDF, then we take it as a blob. Blob is the word collection of binary data. It is a collection of binary data surrounded by collection of binary data under one object. If you want to store any binary data like PDF, images, documents, files, then we use a blob. It is used to store binary data, maybe a PDF file, Word document, image, video, any larger size data. If you want to store, we go with the blob. Next we have object. I can take ID. In the administration, any record you create, we are going to get a 18 character unique ID, right? For every record we create, we are getting what? 18 character unique ID. So ID can be used to store any valid 18 character ID generated by the Salesforce. ID. It can store any valid 18 character ID Salesforce. And the last one, object. If you know it's a numerical value, you take integer. If you know it's a string value, collection of character, you take a string. If you know it's a true or false, you take a block, you take a boolean. If you are not sure, we'll go with object. Object can store any type of data that is supported by fx. Object. It can store any type of data that is supported by for example, object salary then we have date of birth date dot new instance of year month day date dot new instance of year month day date dot new instance of for which one? No limitations. No limitations. Right, boss? People have taken this. So object can store any type of data. Object can store any type of data. So these are the primitive data types what we have. So what are the primitive data types we have? Integer, long, decimal, double, date, date type, object, ID, string, and boolean. These are the values of primitive data types what we have. Whenever you are writing a program, the first thing that we need to understand is what is the data used, what is the format of the data used. 80% of us will not be writing a program because we don't know what we are writing. We don't understand the requirement. Without understanding the requirement, without understanding what is the data involved, you simply want to write a program. That is the reason why your program becomes complex. So before you write a program, understand what is the requirement you are trying to do, what is the data we want, and who is giving this data. Should I calculate the data, or system is going to provide this data, or user is going to provide this data, in which format the data will come. If you know what is the data involved, what is the format of the data involved, 50% of the programming is done. We write the program without understanding what is the data involved, what is the format of the data involved, what we are trying to do. So programming is simple, it's a simple 5th class mathematics, but provided if you understand the requirement properly. It is simple program is just we write arithmetical operators and logical operators, nothing more than that. It is a basic 5th class mathematics. But only the problem is we don't understand the requirement. Without understanding the requirement, we want to write a program. That's how the things will become complex. Like when you go to college, they ask you to write a Fibonacci series. The problem is not writing a program. The problem is what is Fibonacci series. You don't know what is Fibonacci series, that's the reason writing a program has become difficult. Am I right? They ask you to write a pyramid triangle. You don't know what is a pyramid triangle, how the triangle logic is there. That is the reason you don't know how to write a program. So you understand the requirement of your requirement, know what is the data involved, and who is going to provide what data, and what is the data that you have to calculate. User is going to provide what data, system is going to provide what data, what is the calculation that you have to make. If you know this requirement, writing a program is simple. So always have a practice of collecting the data first. Okay. So let us see. Now look at the format. Why I am saying collect the data first. Listen to the format. I ask you collect the phone number. Now I ask you define a variable phone number. Now what is the data type of it? I told I want to store a phone number. What is the data type of it? Right. Now you cannot say it is an integer. You cannot say it is a string. First you should ask your phone number. What type of phone number you are expecting? What type of phone number you are expecting? If I give a phone number like this, I can go with integer. If you give a phone number like this, I can go with integer. Someone is saying, boss, my phone number should be entered like this. Now what is this? This is what? Is a string. Now somebody told my phone number will be like this. All of them are phone numbers only. Right? Now when you say select the phone number, you need to understand what is the phone number format you are going to accept. According to your business, what is the format you are planning to accept. If you are accepting only the first format, I have to go for integer. If I am accepting any one of these format, I have to go for what? String. Why string? It has special characters. So when you are trying to take a variables or a data, understand the format of your data. Now let us say, I asked you, I want to collect age. What is the data type of age? What is the data type of age? Now someone is saying, enter the age like this. Someone is saying, enter the age like, both of them are ages only. Now somebody is entering 30, somebody is entering what? Alphabetical 30. Both are giving age only. Now according to your business, what is the format in which you want to take? Are you looking for a numerical format or are you looking for a string format? First understand the format, then you decide data type. Based on the data type, don't decide the variable. Don't decide the data based on data type. Based on the data, we need to decide the data type. Are you getting my point here? Now, someone has told, give me experience. Now, what is the data type for experience? Now, someone can take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Someone can take 2.3 years, 4.5 years. Both of them are experience only. If you want to take it in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have to take integer. If you want to take it in the form of 2.3, 4.5 like this, I have to go for decimal. So the data type should be decided based on what? Based on the data. Don't decide. Generally we have a practice of what? Experience. Integer, experience. Now we'll ask, why do you take integer? Why do you take integer? I want to take 3.5. Why do you take integer? Now you decide the data format, then you have to decide data type. Data type should be decided after knowing the data. So whenever you want to write any logic, first understand the format of your data, accordingly define the variables and data types. Are you clear about this format? Right. Now I want to collect some data about a student. So I told, so I give name, college name. Right. This is the format I give. So I have given my details. Now if you want to collect my details, then what is this? The first one is what? Alphabets. So it's going to be string. It's a data type. We have to give a name for it. What is the name I am giving? The name can be anything. Now data type is what? String. The second one I have taken. What was this? It's a collection of alphabets. College name. Now what was this? Collection of alphabets. String. Now it is what? Now when it is a year of passed out, we are taking 2006. So what was this? Integer. Then we are taking now understand the format of your data. Accordingly decide the data types. Right. Now I want to take some other details. Like I have ICICI 001 saving account. So tell me what is the format now? So what is this? Should I take integer or string? Why string? Other than numerical values, if you find anything, is a string, account number, saving. What is this? String. So account type. Then so I want to take decimal currency value should be represented in the form of decimal. So balance. Now it is what? So understand the data, accordingly decide the data type and the variable. Understand the data, accordingly decide the data type and variable. Now I said I want to take Wipro, Ready Labs, Pharma, some data, wait. Now tell me what is the format we are going to take. It's going to be what? String. Variable name should be in which format? Lower camel. So pharma is the industry. What about industry is this? Pharma industry. Now it is what? Decimal annual revenue. Any one name. Amalgate, string, branch or location, whatever the name you want. Now what is this? Code. It should be the form of string. Landline. What was this? I want to take integer. So according to the data, decide the data type and the corresponding data. According to the data type, decide the data type and the variable. I hope I am clear with this. People are clear? Now, it is to represent the decimal. It's not going to be added rupees. This we are not used in the calculation. In the logic, we don't use rupees. When you say decimal, when you say rupees, currency value, it is storing only the value. The rupees is not used in the calculation. Only for our understanding, we are taking rupees. Okay. Internally, what is stored only? This is the value which is stored. I hope I am clear. People are clear with this? Clear for everyone? Right. Take these examples. Make it fast. Go to the username. We got here developer console. Username, developer console. Then you are finding here. What is this? Debug. Open, execute, anonymous window. Then I am going to type the message. Once again, how we are opening? Username, developer console, debug, open, execute windows, debug and open, execute anonymous window. Here, if you want to print any message, we are going to give system.debug. And again using, we don't use system.debug process. Only to print the message in the log files we will be using this, not in your programming. Okay. System.debug. Whatever you write within a single code, the same thing will be printed. Whatever we write within a single code, same thing is going to be printed. System.debug. Whatever you write within a single code, the same thing will be printed. So system.debug, whatever I give within the single code, the same thing will be printed. Now what you are saying? Open. There is a checkbox here. What is this? Open log. Select this. Once you executed, log file will open. It is a log file. In the log file, you are finding it. What is the option you are finding? Debug only. When you select debug only, we are going to get the message. This is line number 1. **** next. Are you getting my point? Right now we are using this only to check the execution of the basics of programming. Later on we will see Visual Force. We don't run the program like this. Right? So what is the purpose? Let us go with. So we are going for what? debug, open, execute anonymous window, print system.debug, print the message, system.debug, whatever you want, you are printing the message. I hope I am clear. Similarly, let us go to the next. I am taking integer age equal to 30. I give integer age equal to 30. System.debug. So what is the purpose of this? We are asking you to print the value of age. So what is the output we are going to get? 30. Now, listen to the point. Anything plus string is a string. String plus anything is also a string plus anything, or anything plus string is a string. Now look at the point. What is a string? I am giving it 10. It is not 10. It is what? 10 plus 10. If I give 10 plus 10, what is the output? 1010. Are you getting my point? If the same thing, if I make it as 10 plus 10, you are going to get. But if I give single quotes 10, single quotes 10 plus 10, string plus anything is string. Single quotes is what? String. Single quotes is what? String. If I am giving like this, if I am giving a message like this, Satish, so what is the output we are going to get? If I am giving what was this? Satish plus, we are going to get Satish colon plus, where I am going to get Satish. Anything plus string will become what? String. Anything plus string will become what? String. Are you clear about this? Right. Now the same story I am repeating here. The same story I am printing here. What is the same story here? Look at the format. System.debug. Whatever I write within a single quote, what will happen? Whatever I wrote, it is print same. My age. Single quotes plus age. What is the value of age? 10. So what is the meaning of this? My age plus what is the value of age? 30. So what is the output we are going to get? My age. People are clear with this. So anything plus string will give you string. So if you want to print my age 30, string plus integer will give you what? String. How you are going to get my age 30? People are clear? People are followed? So let me give you, if I am giving string name equal to, I am giving here system.debug. So what I am going to get? Tell me what is the output? Whatever I gave within the single quote, same thing will be printed. Plus, what is the value of name? Are you clear? So anything that is there in the single quote, exactly it will be printed. Plus, whatever the variable we are giving. Then I am printing system.debug. What is the output we are going to get? Whatever I give within the single quote, the same thing will be printed. So how do you print it? Open log, then execute, go to the file, select debug only, you are able to see my age 30, my name Satish, my salary 50,000. This is how you are printing the value. Am I clear? People are clear? So what was the next statement here? So next one. What was that? System dot system.debug. What is the purpose of this? This statement will print value generated by the expression in the this statement will print the value generated by the expression in the log file. Example. Let us take the examples what we have taken. We take these examples. Whatever the value that is given by the expression, the same thing will be printed again. Anything plus string. Plus anything. I'm going to take some examples here. I hope you have followed these examples. I hope I'm clear with this format, boss. People have followed this example. Again, I'm repeating. We are not going to do this type of programming. Only for practicing the basics, we are using this. I'm using a test console and running the files. Okay. This is how we are generating the values. We created a variables and we are trying to print the values in the log file. People are clear? So what is the navigation for this? What is the navigation? Navigation. What is the navigation we use? Username. Under username we have developer console. Open the developer console. Debug. Anonymous window. System dot debug statement. Then what we have to do? Step number 2, select open log. Step number 3, what is step number 3? Click on execute. Once you click on execute, then I'm going to use select debug checkbox. This is the format: username, developer console, debug, open anonymous window, print whatever the statement you want, select open log, click on execute, then select the debug checkbox from extension. What do you mean by extension? This is the extension. What I'm doing here? Once again, username, developer console, debug, open anonymous window, enter your statement, select the log file, click on execute, then this is an extension. This is extension. At the bottom we are finding here. This is called extension. From the extension select, you can see our output. People are clear? Clear for everyone? This